It's one of the black doctors from Philadelphia that was selling niggas out, reading from a script. Didn't know nothing about COVID-19 vaccines, but yet she was promoting for her own people to line up and take an experiment. But yet here she is running for Congress now. Want the support once again from the family. The same woman that sold black folks out for some crumbs on a plate to take an experiment, now running for Congress. But the thing is, why do black folks got to keep Donald Trump name in their mouth? And that's why black folks are losing. And at the bottom of the chain from these so-called leaders that been selling us out for a long motherfucking time. Now here it is, the black doctor from Philadelphia that was selling niggas out to take an experiment, unalived a whole lot of black folks. Now she wants your support so she can run for Congress. Only people that's gonna support this woman are the go along, get along gang. The Donald Trump haters. Let's listen.
The pandemic raged, and too many poor communities were left behind. Dr. Ayla Stanford stepped up, organizing
No, she didn't.
Delivering vaccines.
She sold niggas out. Exactly.
Raised by a
Here's the
14-year-old
facts.
single mother, she became the
And
first
she looked like a dude in the face, man.
pediatric
Look at her strong jawbone and shit, man.
Endorsed by Dwight
Listen.
Evans, calling her a fighter and
Dwight Evans,
Now's the time
another
for
loser
Dr. Ayla Stanford to bring her Philly
from
fight
Philly.
direct to Donald Trump.
Look,
314
bring her
Action
fight
Funds
straight to
responsible for
Donald
content
Trump.
this
What do
advertising.
Donald Trump got to do with her running for a goddamn Congress, ladies and gentlemen? What do Donald Trump got to do with her running for Congress? Why do black folks keep Donald Trump name in their dick suckers, man? That's crazy. And then they wondering why black folks losing everything behind these so-called fake leaders, man. I wouldn't respect this lady at all because she was reading from a script. We all know that COVID-19 was a man-made experiment from out of a U.S. lab, out of the government lab. She was first to start selling niggas out to take an experiment so she can get some crumbs on the plate. But it was for her to run for Congress in the future so it can make her look good. Look, she was out there protecting black folks from COVID, this, that, and the third. But at the same time, you really wasn't fighting for black folks because they was threatening black folks that they was going to lose their job if they didn't take an experiment that you was part of. So ask yourself, ladies and gentlemen, is this the person you want for Congress that's going to be calling shots, making decisions for you and your kids' future? The same lady that sold millions of black folks out to take an experiment? I don't think so. And then once again, Donald Trump.
Organizing doctors, delivering vaccines, and saving thousands of
All
lives.
these niggas got Donald Trump name in their mouth that been selling us out.
She became the first black woman
That don't even fight for us though. Y'all fighting for these illegal migrants. You wanted black folks to go out, take an experiment to wipe out black folks, to replace them with illegal migrants that y'all didn't even pump the COVID-19 vaccine on? But yet you want the black folks support again from Dwight Evans, all these old house niggas, Divine Nine, Eastern Stars, Freemasons. And that's all the niggas that's out there capping for these niggas, man. And on a Donald Trump smear campaign. That shit tired. But this strong jaw motherfucker wants y'all support so she can run for Congress. And 9 times out of 10, you niggas gonna give her y'all support. The same lady that sold y'all out to take an experiment. Sad.
Single mother, she became the first black woman pediatric surgeon trained in America. Now she's running for Congress. Endorsed by Dwight Evans, calling her a fighter and a champion.
Dwight Evans, a known sucker.
Stanford to bring her Philly fight direct to Donald Trump. 314 Action Fund is responsible for the content of this advertising.
It's not a traditional vaccine, is it? Do you realize that? This is the basic operation. Do you know how it works? It doesn't appear like you do. I mean, just yes or no. I mean, do you know that or not? Because I talk to a lot of doctors don't have a clue.
Don't have a clue of COVID, but yet
have you heard about this? That there's DNA contamination in
DNA contamination in that shit.
Pfizer. You're aware of that?
Yes.
Do you know at what levels it exceeds the FDA recommended amounts? Again, I'm just kind of laying out why people are outraged. because people haven't been held accountable. This is a history of autism. This is a chart showing from, again, hard to say, but with CDC numbers starting in around 2000, from 1 in 150 to now 1 in 31. According to your testimony back in 1970, it might have been 1 in 10,000, a little less certain than using CDC numbers, but there's been an explosion. What are we doing about it? Who's asleep at the wheel? Who's trying to determine what caused this? As Dr. Chris Palmer said, when it comes to chronic illness, and I'd throw autism in there, they don't want the root causes discovered. That's why people are outraged. That's why people may put on Twitter things that they may regret later. Let's put up the next chart, number 3. This is probably my most censored chart. Dr. Scott, were you aware that worldwide on VAERS we've reported 38,742 deaths worldwide associated with the COVID vaccine? Mm-hmm. Were you aware of that carnage?
Mm-hmm. I bet you she wasn't aware of that carnage. She was too busy selling niggas out.
In America, I believe the number 19,000, correct? Again,
but VAERS does not prove causality.
Oh, I've heard that time and time again. So let's take a look at the bottom figure down here. Of those 38,000 deaths, 9,252, 23.9%, let's call it 24%, occurred on the day of vaccination or within 1 or 2 days. I know that doesn't prove causation, but man, that's a correlation that we ought to look at. Do you know to what extent VAERS is reported to understate adverse events? Do you have any idea? Have you seen any studies on that?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
To what extent does VAERS underreport adverse events? Again, it's a pain to report something to VAERS. Okay, doctors are busy, takes half hour, 45 minutes. A lot of people don't know about it, so the vast majority of adverse events from a vaccine or a drug doesn't get reported to VAERS. So again, they've actually done studies on this. Do you know what percent actually get reported versus what doesn't get reported?
No.
Somewhere between 1 to 10%, correct, Mr. Siri?
No, it's less than 1% according to an AHRQ-funded study of Harvard researchers. And
so if it's less than 1%, let's just use U.S. figures. Okay, by the way, what is this? 17,000, 19,000 U.S. deaths. Yeah, it's close. Okay, it's one of those 17 or 19,000 deaths reported in the U.S. based on VAERS.
3 weeks after my second dose, I couldn't go up a flight of stairs without gasping for air. I became short of breath doing even simple things, walking, standing, even speaking. I had constant chest pressure, arrhythmias, and overwhelming fatigue. I cannot overstate the misery. It felt like my body was failing me. I was experiencing right heart failure. Still, I questioned myself. Was this real or in my head? Then an echocardiogram confirmed the damage. The diagnosis was pulmonary hypertension. I had damage and narrowing of the blood vessels in my lungs, restricting blood flow and straining the heart. This isn't like regular high blood pressure. Pulmonary hypertension is usually progressive and fatal even with treatment. There is no cure. It felt like a death sentence. There's a cost of manufacturing the medicine and the research. There's a cost to administer it. And there is the hidden cost of injuries, and we do not know what that is. It is not studied. It's not taught.
Our next witness is Dr. Robert Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan is a licensed physician and board-certified anesthesiologist over 20 years of active practice in Maryland. He is here today to talk about his vaccine injury following his COVID-19 injection. Dr. Sullivan.
Thank you, Senators. My story is not as bad. The same month I received my first COVID mRNA shot, I was featured in the Wall Street Journal's What's Your Workout column for aerial circus arts. I was strong, healthy, and thriving. Just 3 weeks after my second dose, I couldn't go up a flight of stairs without gasping for air. I became short of breath doing even simple things, walking, standing, even speaking. I had constant chest pressure, arrhythmias, and overwhelming fatigue. I cannot overstate the misery. It felt like my body was failing me. I was experiencing right heart failure. Still, I questioned myself. Was this real or in my head? Then an echocardiogram confirmed the damage. I was relieved that it wasn't imagined and stunned to realize, this is how I likely die. The diagnosis was pulmonary hypertension. I had damage and narrowing of the blood vessels in my lungs, restricting blood flow and straining the heart. This isn't like regular high blood pressure. Pulmonary hypertension is usually progressive and fatal even with treatment. There is no cure. It felt like a death sentence. I reported my case to VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Event Reporting System. Most doctors I know had never heard of it.
Mm-hmm.
Fewer understood that it carries mandatory reporting requirements. I was never taught about VAERS in medical school. I'm told it still isn't.
None of them doctors was taught, man.
Eventually,
Shit was
VAERS collected my
man-made.
medical records. I expected to hear from the FDA.
Shit was
or
out of
CDC.
government lab.
I never did.
Most of them
I
niggas
believed in
was
the
selling
system.
niggas out to take an experiment for some
I
crumbs
believed
on the plate.
When I wasn't, I channeled that disbelief into collaborating with the British Medical
And y'all
Journal.
gonna give her y'all vote, the
reported
same
about
woman that
system
sold
failures.
y'all out? Fuck
What I
out of
learned
here.
is chilling.
Y'all better do y'all
If you are
research
harmed, you are
before y'all
harmed.
start voting for these people.
I've
These
had no
people
doubt
ain't here
that
for
some of
us,
the novel
y'all.
treatments
They might
I've
look
tried
just
help.
like you and sound
On the
like
outside,
you.
I look fine.
They not here for us, y'all.
I returned to running, even to aerial arts. That brings me joy, but also unease. I've lost half my lung capacity. If I can look this normal while carrying that much damage, how many others are out there suffering silently?
Facts.
About kind of your background, what you do as a doctor.
So historically, I was just your average internist that basically tried to care for people. I also owned a lot of my own clinics, and so we typically saw about 200,000 patients a year, had about 250 employees, and so when COVID came along, it really required me to kind of figure out what's going on, not only from the patients that I got to take care of, but also for my employees as well. And so that really what kind of drove me to get really almost hyper focused on trying to figure out the problem and actually figuring out how to help people. And so in a sense, a lot of my knowledge base is interestingly fairly new because a lot of this was new, but if you actually applied yourself at the time, you could become an expert in something that was relatively new, relatively quick. And so,
Facts.
And let's not forget, this was not only new for you, it was new for everybody, from the top doctors in America
100%, yeah.
Was
to
an
the
experiment.
interns,
Yes.
to the residents. What were some of the things that you observed in your patients during COVID that sort of stick out to you to this day?
So it was pretty obvious in the spring and summer of 2020 that we weren't really dealing with a respiratory infection. What we were really dealing with was a vascular issue in the lungs and vascular issue everywhere. And in fact, what my collaborators in South Africa really discovered is we were barking up the wrong tree. It wasn't a respiratory disease, it was actually a vascular disease of the lungs. And that's one of the reasons, if you have a vascular issue of the lungs, the worst thing you can do is increase the intrathoracic pressure, which is what ventilation does. And in a sense, is why most people that got on the ventilator did not live. So in a sense, what we discovered was if we attack the vascular and coagulation or the clotting issues that go on with COVID, then we could pull people out of the hospital, save their lives, and actually not have any long-term consequences.
For those who have never studied, the body, what is vascular?
So vascular would be the vessels. So, there's two things. A lot of times when we think about pneumonia or asthma or those kind of things, what we're thinking about is how we move air in and out of the lungs. But the interesting thing is when you move air in and out of the lungs, it has to interface with something called vessels for that oxygen exchange. And if you have a disease that attacks the vessels, you also have, a lot of people are monitoring their pulse ox and those kind of things. The actual pulse ox goes down as well. And so what really a lot of physicians started to realize is we were treating this like the classic, what we call acute respiratory distress syndrome or ARDS pneumonia, but it wasn't that. And in a sense, what we needed to do was treat it as if it was a vasculopathy. And some of the people that I work with in England, what we kind of define as what we call primary pulmonary vasculopathy, which is a fancy word for saying the issue is a primary issues of the vessels of the lungs, not necessarily the airways, which is what most people associate when they think about a pneumonia.
Differences of opinion under the pressure of a pandemic and separate the opinions of scientists who are working for the greater good and frankly others who may simply be seeking to sow distrust while they profit off misinformation and fear. And I'm frankly deeply concerned about some of today's witnesses, because they have a financial interest in fomenting distrust about COVID-19 vaccines and pushing untested alternative remedies over proven treatments. In fact, two of today's witnesses are executives at something called the Wellness Company, which sells the disproven treatment, ivermectin, and a host of untested supplements, which include something called, quote, unquote, Ultimate Spike Detox, costs $89.99 a bottle. Another makes money from suing vaccine companies, and still others are pushing unsupported research while rejecting the proven scientists on COVID and other vaccines. Let's be very clear that fear-mongering and rushing to conclusions without examining the evidence can lead to tremendous harm, and this risk is not just hypothetical or rhetorical. Misinformation about the safety of vaccines has led to a deadly outbreak of a preventable disease. We all know it, measles. Just 25 years ago, measles was declared eliminated in the United States. Since then, conspiracy theories, some financially motivated, have caused vaccination rates to plummet. Last September, the CDC warned that declining childhood vaccination could lead to a resurgence of a preventable disease like measles and rotavirus. Exactly what is happening today. As of today, more than 1,000 Americans have been diagnosed with measles this year in 31 states, many of them children. So far, 3 have died. These deaths were preventable.
From Dallas, Texas. He is broadly published with over 700 citations in the National Library of Medicine. He has testified multiple times in the U.S. Senate, U.S. House of Representatives, European Parliament, and many state capitals concerning public health policy. Dr. McCullough.
Chairman Johnson, Ranking Member Blumenthal, subcommittee members, it's an honor to present my insights, my analysis, my clinical experience on this very important topic. The first time I testified at Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs, before a word came out of my mouth, Minority Senator Gary Peters said, what America was about to hear was misinformation. I didn't even know what he was talking about. I had never heard that term before in academic medicine or in important deliberations. That's November 19th, 2020. What was he doing? He was using an old communist propaganda technique. He was attempting to gain leverage over me before a word ever came out of my mouth. We should never have our public servants ever try to gain leverage over anyone who is coming to Washington to help the nation on an important issue.
Facts.
As introduced, I'm an internist, I'm a cardiologist.
Niggas was reading from the script, man. I'm telling you.
Who's ever
they was selling niggas out
on matters related to COVID-19 in any of these hearings. I've seen and examined more patients. I've examined more data. And I'm one of the most published people on the topic in the world. And as a cardiologist, I can tell you, my role in this was to fight disease, preserve life, and above all, do no harm. Do no harm. Now, the topic today is myocarditis or heart damage from the COVID-19 vaccines. I'm a cardiologist. I know the topic well. I've examined thousands of patients with this problem. Thousands. Before the pandemic, I had 2 patients ever with this problem. There's 1,065 papers in the peer-reviewed literature on COVID vaccine myocarditis. So let me summarize them for you. The first one that came on my radar screen that was alarming came from Washington University in St. Louis, August 18th of 2021. The first author is Verma and colleagues. New England Journal of Medicine. 42-year-old man comes into Washington University Hospital with vaccine myocarditis. The infection is ruled out. It's the vaccine. He's in the hospital. This is one of our best hospitals in the United States.
Vaccine.
He dies 3 days after taking Moderna.
It's the vaccine.
See, Dr. McCullough, move the microphone just a little bit away from you.
Then one was reported from Korea by Choi and colleagues. This is now a younger man. just a few days after Pfizer. He comes in the hospital. He dies within 8 hours of being in the hospital. I can tell you, I'm a cardiologist. That doesn't even happen with heart attacks. He dies within 8 hours. I examined all of the slides and the images that the Koreans had showed us. It looked like somebody took a blowtorch to that heart. It was so completely fried with inflammation. His heart was destroyed. These cases, which were widely known at the time, should have gotten everyone's attention.
But it didn't.
Everyone should have been laser focused on this. We should never have someone die after taking a vaccine that's directly caused to the vaccine.
Facts.
Then Gill and colleagues, Connecticut, published in Archives of Pathology, 2 boys, aged 16 and 17, who die a few days after taking Pfizer. These are teenagers. They're found dead at home by their parents. They're absolutely horrified.